My story starts when I was 23, living in my grandmother's old house in the suburbs. She'd left it to me when she passed away, my father's mother, a kind woman who always made sure I had everything I needed. The house wasn't new or fancy, but it was solid and well maintained, sitting in a quiet neighborhood where you could actually hear birds singing in the morning. I'm Leslie, and back then my life seemed pretty straightforward. I had a good job, my own home, and what I thought was a caring family: my mom, my stepfather, and my younger half-sister Piper, who had just turned 18. They lived in a more modern house closer to the city, though they were still paying off a hefty mortgage that would take them many more years to clear. "Leslie, honey, can we talk?" my mom asked one Sunday afternoon when she came over for our weekly coffee. "You know, your stepdad and I have been thinking. This house of yours, it's exactly what we've always dreamed of. The quiet location, the garden space." I nodded, wondering where this was going. "And I know your commute to work is pretty rough from here," she continued. "Our house is so much closer to your office." That's when she laid it out, her brilliant idea to switch houses. They would move into my grandmother's house, and I would take their place in the city home. I'd just need to keep paying their mortgage. "Think about it," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "You'd save so much time on that commute, and the house is bigger, more modern. Plus, your stepdad and I have always wanted to live in a place like this." I considered it for a moment. She wasn't wrong, their house was newer, with an updated kitchen and more space. And the location would cut my daily commute in half. "What about the paperwork?" I asked. "Shouldn't we get something in writing?" Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh honey, we're family. Why waste money on lawyers? You know I'd never do anything to hurt you." The move happened quickly after that. I settled into my new place easily enough. Every month, I faithfully sent Mom the mortgage payment, usually more than the required amount, because I wanted to help pay it off faster. I put money into fixing up the house too, replacing old appliances and giving several rooms a fresh makeover. For 4 years, that was our arrangement. I paid the mortgage without fail, often contributing extra when I could. Everything seemed perfect. I had a shorter commute, a modern home, and what I thought was a solid agreement with my family. The business trip to the neighboring state seemed like any other: 2 weeks of meetings, presentations, and hotel rooms. I was actually looking forward to getting back home and sleeping in my own bed. The last thing I expected was to find myself locked out of my life. It was a chilly evening when my Uber dropped me off. I wheeled my suitcase up the driveway, noticing something odd: the porch light was on, and I could hear voices inside. Weird, since I lived alone and definitely hadn't left any lights on. "What the hell?" I muttered, trying my key in the lock. It didn't fit. I tried again, then again, my confusion turning to panic as I realized the locks had been changed. Just as I was about to call a locksmith, the door swung open. There stood my sister Piper, now 22, wearing my favorite fuzzy slippers and looking at me like I was some unwanted solicitor. Behind her, a tall guy I recognized as her new husband lounged on my couch, feet up on my coffee table. "Oh, you're back," Piper said, leaning against the doorframe with a smirk I wanted to wipe right off her face. "Your stuff's in the garage." I stood there, suitcase still in hand, trying to process what I was hearing. "My stuff? What are you talking about? This is my house." "Not anymore." She examined her perfectly manicured nails, the kind our parents had always paid for, even when they claimed they couldn't afford new school clothes for me. "Mom and Dad gave it to us as a wedding present. We're living here now." The world tilted sideways for a moment. "Are you insane? I've been paying the mortgage on this house for 4 years." "Yeah, about that." Piper rolled her eyes, looking exactly like Mom when she was about to dismiss someone's feelings. "That's not really my problem. Mom and Dad gave us the house, so." She made a shooing motion with her hand. "You need to leave. Get off our property, before we call the cops." Standing there on my own porch, suddenly homeless, memories started flooding back, all the times Piper had gotten special treatment. The new iPhone when I was still using a flip phone. Designer clothes while I got hand-me-downs. The brand new car for her 16th birthday while I took the bus. The expensive college tuition while I worked my way through community college. I stood there, trembling with rage, as my little sister prepared to close the door in my face. Where am I supposed to go? She shrugged. Not my problem. Get a hotel or something. Just don't come back here. The door slammed shut. I heard laughter from inside, my sister and her husband, making themselves at home in the house I'd spent 4 years paying for, improving, making my own. I don't remember walking back to my car. I don't remember the drive to our parents' house, my grandmother's house, the one I'd given them in our swap. All I could think about was how this pattern had been there all along. The favoritism. The special treatment. The way Piper always got everything she wanted, while I was expected to just deal with it. But this? This was different. This wasn't just a new phone or a designer bag. This was my home, my life, everything I'd worked for. I stormed up to my old house ready for a fight. The porch light cast long shadows across the garden I'd tended for years before our swap. My hand was already formed into a fist when I reached the door, and I pounded on it hard enough to hurt. Mom, open up. We need to talk about what Piper just did. I heard movement inside, whispered voices, footsteps approaching the door. But it didn't open. Leslie, my mother's voice came through the door, muffled but clear enough. Go away. I couldn't have heard that right. What? Mom, open the door. Piper just locked me out of my house, the house I've been paying the mortgage on for 4 years. That's not your house anymore, my stepfather's voice joined in. And this isn't your house either. This is our house now. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. What are you talking about? This is my house, Grandma left it to me. You need to leave, Mom's voice had that stern tone she used when she thought she was being reasonable. Go rent an apartment somewhere. Stop going from house to house making everyone nervous. I pressed my palms flat against the door, trying to steady myself. Making you nervous? Are you kidding me? You've thrown me out of my home. Piper's living in the house I've been paying for, and now you won't even let me in to talk about it. We've invested a lot in this house, Mom snapped back. We've done renovations, improvements. And what about all the money I spent fixing up your house? I was screaming now, past caring what the neighbors might think. The new appliances? The remodeled bathroom? The 4 years of mortgage payments? That's different. Different how? How is it different, Mom? You planned this all along, haven't you? Get me to pay your mortgage while you lived in my house, then give my place to Piper and keep Grandma's house for yourselves? Real nice plan, leave me homeless while you all divide up my property. There was a pause, then Mom's voice came back, cold and hard. You need to leave now, Leslie. This is our house, and we don't want you here. Something snapped inside me. For years of mortgage payments, countless home improvements, and a lifetime of watching Piper get everything she wanted, it all crystallized into a single, clear thought. Actually, Mom, you're wrong about one thing, I said, my voice suddenly calm. This is my house, legally. The deed is still in my name. Grandma left it to me, remember? And since you're so fond of kicking people out of their homes, maybe it's time I returned the favor. You wouldn't dare, my stepfather growled. Try me, I shot back. I'm done being the nice one. I'm done watching you favor Piper while you use me. Get out of my house, or I'll have you evicted, legally. Silence from behind the door. I waited a moment longer, then turned and walked away. I had nowhere to go, but I knew what I had to do. An hour later, I was checking into a cheap hostel, my suitcase still packed from my business trip. I pulled out my phone and started searching for lawyers. The lawyer I hired, Mr. Thompson, didn't mess around. Within 2 days, he had prepared all the necessary eviction documents. I stood behind him on my porch, watching as he knocked on the door with sharp, professional raps. Mom opened it this time, her face turning pale when she saw the legal documents in Mr. Thompson's hand. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice crisp and businesslike. "I'm here on behalf of your daughter Leslie, the legal owner of this property. I'm serving you with an eviction notice." "You can't do this." My stepfather appeared behind Mom, his face red with anger. Mr. Thompson remained unfazed. "Actually, we can and we are. You have 3 days to vacate the premises. If you fail to comply, we'll be forced to